Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Spaghetti Westerns podcast. I'm Tom Betts, your host. This is still season 7, episode 6. Overall, is number 127. Today, we're going to talk about in our history of the Spaghetti Western segment, Blood for a Silver Dollar with Juliana Gemma. Whatever became of, we're going to talk about Jess Hahn. Who are those guys? Will be Ricardo Pizzuti. And the film of the week will be Six Bullets from Hell. That's also going to be the LPCD of the week is going to be Blood for a Silver Dollar, and we'll talk about the two singers that recorded songs for that soundtrack. Okay, so let's get into it. A spaghetti western history film will be Blood for a Silver Dollar. Okay, this is a 1965 Italian-French co-production. The Italian title is Un dollaro bucato. The French title is Les Dollars Trous. A UK title, One Silver Dollar. And a couple of English titles, Die Now, Pay Later, Blood on a Silver Dollar, and the one we know it as here in the States is Blood for a Silver Dollar. The director is Kelvin Jackson Paget. That's actually Giorgio Ferroni. Story is by George Finley, which is Giorgio Stegani. Screenplay is by both of them, George Finley and Calvin Jackson Paget, which again is Giorgio Stegani and Giorgio Ferroni. Cinematography is by Tony Dry, which is Antonio Sesci. It's in Eastman color and CinemaScope. Music is by Gianni Ferrio. His real name is Giovanni Ferrio. And like I said, there's two songs in the soundtrack. First one is A Man, a Story, sung by Fred Bongusto. And the other one is Give Me Back, which is by Lydia McDonald. And we'll get into those when we discuss the CD of the week. Running time on this is 96 minutes. The main actors or characters are Gary O'Hara, played by Montgomery Wood, which is Gemma. Judy O'Hara is played by Evelyn Stewart. Max Corey / McCoy / Aloysius McKenzie is played by Peter Cross, which is Pierre Crosoy. And Phil Blackie O'Hara is played by Nicholas St. John. That's actually Nazareno Zamperla. The sheriff, George Anderson, is played by Frank Farrell, which is Francisco Fantasia. So you can see that they're using a lot of anglicized names to cover up the production. A couple of other names that you should recognize in the production is Brad is played by Max Dean, and it's Massimo Righi. Donaldson is played by John McDouglas, that's Giuseppe Atabatti. There's a homesteader in here played by Pedro Sanchez. And we also have a Confederate henchman played by Gene or John Martin. The story goes, former Confederate Army Captain Gary O'Hara, played by Juliana Gemma, is sent home from a Union prison camp after the end of the Civil War with the barrel of his gun cut off. This joke by the Union soldiers will become a vital part of the story later on in the film. O'Hara now wants to start a new life in the West with his wife Judy, played by Evelyn Stewart, but has a difficult time finding a job. Gary stumbles into the town of Yellowstone, no relation to the Kevin Costner TV movie or series, where he's offered a job by McCoy, played by Peter Cross, who in the sheriff's absence wants Gary to bring in an outlaw named Blackie, played by Nazareno Zamperla. When the two meet, O'Hara recognizes the outlaw to be his brother Phil. Too late, he is shot but saved from death by a silver dollar he was carrying in his breast pocket. Blackie is then gunned down by McCoy henchman When the smoke clears, Gary learns Blackie wasn't a criminal but had been hired by the local townspeople to protect them from McCoy and his henchmen. Returning home to recover from his wound, he learns his wife has fallen into the hands of McCoy. He tries to get Sheriff George Anderson, played by Franco Fantasia, to help him, but finds out he is just another henchman of McCoy's. Gary, on his own, cleans up the town, faces off in a duel with a ringleader, and this is where the sawed-off gun barrel comes into play. I won't give the clever ending away. The townspeople finally rise up against the corrupt banker O'Hara, gains the respect of the town, and is able to begin a new life with his wife by his side. As far as talking points are concerned, this is the first of three westerns which were directed by Giorgio Ferroni and in which Juliana Gemma plays a character named Gary. Several spaghetti westerns featured what's called the Ulysses story, where a war veteran comes home to find difficulties that had developed while he was away, which he must clear up before his life could return to a peaceful existence. As an example, it was used again in Keoma in California, films we've already covered. Gemma was still being billed as Montgomery Wood, but was rising quickly as one of the genre's premier stars and would soon no longer need to use the alias. Ferroni's style is more like the American-made westerns, but he allows Gemma plenty of time to display his athletic ability in fights and his superb gun handling ability. Unlike the Spanish dry desert locations, this film was made for the most part in the green Manziana area outside of Rome. Gianni Ferrio's score is excellent, and the whistled main theme song is played over the rotoscope title sequence, which was an early spaghetti trademark. One silver dollar was very successful and ended up finishing only behind for a few dollars more at the box office and ahead of the two Ringo films in 1965's box office receipts. It proved to the Italian film industry that Italian westerns could be made without expensive American actors. The film offers another excellent cast of supporting Italian character actors, which makes this an A Western. Trivia: the house shown here where Gary is kept prisoner is the same location used for the Mesita Ranch house where Bill, played by John Philip Law, lives in Death Rides a Horse. This house would also appear in numerous Italian westerns. The film is available on Blu-ray in Germany and Japan, and on DVD in Germany, France, Japan, Spain, Thailand, USA, and Brazil. Okay, actor profiles. Gary O'Hara, Montgomery Wood, is really Juliana Gemma, who was born on September 2nd, 1938 in Rome and died in a car accident on October 1st, 2013 in Civitavecchia, Italy. He was 75. Gemma made 17 spaghetti westerns. For more information, watch his own special episode, number 41. Judy O'Hara is played by Evelyn Stewart. Evelyn Stewart's real name is Ida Galli. She was born on March 9, 1939 in Sestola, Modena, Italy. She appeared in 13 spaghetti westerns and is now retired. We covered her previously in episode number 124. Max Corey, McCoy, or Aloysius Mackenzie was played by Peter Cross. Peter Cross was born Pierre Jules Lazare Crossoy on March 25, 1924 in Vendôme, Loire-Cher, France. He was a theater and film actor who appeared in 52 films between 1947 and 1972. 5 of those films were spaghetti westerns. He's probably best remembered for his role of Dr. Chester Lynn in 1966's Navajo Joe with Burt Reynolds. He died on October 31st, 1980 in Gorbeau-Alpes-Maritimes, France at the age of 56. Then we have Phil Blackie O'Hara, played by Nicholas St. John. Nicholas St. John is an alias for Nazareno Zamperla, who sometimes acted under the alias Nick Anderson. He was born in Treviso, Veneto, Italy on April 25, 1937. He was a stuntman, stunt coordinator, master of arms, director, and film actor. He was the brother of assistant director, stunt coordinator, stuntman, master of arms, and film actor Ronaldo Zamperla. Ronaldo was born in 1932 and he died in 2011. Uh, Nicholas St. John's son is stuntman David Zamperla, born in 1976, and stuntman and coordinator Mirko Zamperla, born in 1979. Nazareno appeared in 96 films and TV appearances, 21 which were spaghetti westerns. He died on March 19, 2020 in Rome at the age of 83. He and Juliana Gemma were good friends. He is best remembered as Peter McGregor in the two McGregor films. Sheriff George Anderson was played by Frank Farrell. Frank Farrell is an alias for Francisco Fantasia, who was born in Rhodes, Italy on March 5, 1924, and was a production manager, assistant director, master swordsman, stuntman, film and TV actor. He's the younger brother of the actor Andrea Fantasia. Franco appeared in over 150 films and TV series, 22 of which were spaghetti westerns. Franco died on November 10, 2002 at the age of 78. We covered him previously in episodes 35 and 92. Okay, now let's move along to who are those guys and Riccardo Pizzuti. Okay, Riccardo Pizzuti. He's another familiar face in Italian-based spaghetti westerns. Riccardo Pizzuti was born in Cetraro, Calabria, Italy on April 28, 1934. He is a stuntman, film actor, and assistant director. He appeared in 70 films beginning in 1961 with the peplum The Vengeance of Ursus and ending with an appearance as a gunslinger in the 1995 Enzo Barboni film Sons of Trinity. He also did stunt work in 38 films and was an assistant director on one film, Magnificent Daredevil, made in 1973, directed by Luciano Ercoli and starring Juliana Gemma. Pizzuti started out as an electrician and lived in Venezuela for 3 years from 1951 to 1954. When he returned to Italy, stuntman Pasquale Basile brought him into the film business in the mid-1950s. After his military service, he returned to the film industry. In the 1960s, he appeared as a stuntman in several sword and sandal films. In 1962, he appeared in Cleopatra. In 1964, he appeared in Spartacus and the 10 Gladiators. In 1965, he began his spaghetti western career playing the camp cook in Blood for a Silver Dollar with Juliana Gemma. And in 1967, he joined Giorgio Ribaldi's stunt team. He's remembered best for his roles along Bud Spencer and Terence Hill. His first role in Spencer Hill films was 1968's Ace High, where he plays one of Drake's, played by Kevin McCarthy's henchmen. He was initiated immediately by receiving one of Bud's fists. His next appearance with Spencer Hill was in They Call Me Trinity, in the sequel, Trinity Is Still My Name. In the early 70s, Riccardo Pizzuti became one of the most familiar faces of the Bud Spencer, Terence Hill movies, and although never as a co-star, he contributed a certain part to the success of the movies. His role was always that of the right hand of the main villain, and so it is he who always gets the brunt of the punishment by the two heroes. It is also interesting that Riccardo Pizzuti has often appeared in Bud Spencer's solo films during his career, but is only involved in one Terence Hill solo project, Man of the East, where he plays the top villain and got one of his biggest roles as Morton Clayton. Riccardo Pizzuti made his 20th and final appearance in the Spencer Hill universe in 1990 at Bud Spencer's sidekick in his solo adventure Speaking of the Devil as Joe the taxi driver. In 1995, he was once again a gunslinger in Enzo Barboni's last film, Sons of Trinity. Riccardo Pizzuti then retired from the acting business. In the mid-1980s, Pizzuti got into trouble with the Italian judiciary. He was accused of involvement in money laundering in connection with drug trafficking. Although Pizzuti asserted his innocence, he was sent to jail. The judgment was annulled in 1988. and converted into acquittal. Pizzuti turned his back on his homeland with bitterness and moved to France. 20 years later, Pizzuti was interviewed for the documentary They Called Him Bulldozer. In summer 2017, he was therefore invited to the premiere of the film in Munich. There he was warmly welcomed by the fans and so accepted the invitation to the Spencer Hill Festival in 2017 in Templin a little later. There he was received warmly by 1,000 enthusiastic fans. Ricardo Pizzuti now lives in Saint-Jean near Toulouse, France. When episode is posted, I'll post a list of his films, which is extensive on both Facebook and on YouTube. Okay? Let's move along to our next segment, Whatever Became Of, and it's Jess Hahn. Jess Hahn is an interesting character. He was born Jess Burrell Hahn in Terre Haute, Indiana on October 29, 1921. He graduated with a degree in English and physical education from Murray State College in Kentucky. During his studies, he also learned the French language, a language that would be useful to him later on. He distinguished himself during the Second World War by fighting in the U.S. Army and training combat swimmers. He took part in the Normandy landing. In 1949, he returned to settle permanently in France. He became a French citizen in the early 1950s and performed in various Parisian cabarets as a jazz musician. Being unsuccessful, he decided to try his luck as an actor. As a French film actor, he portrayed the friendly giant with a nice sense of humor and a fixture in French movies where he often landed roles as a tough gangster or a Yankee, such as an army officer or CIA, FBI agent, or expatriate. Adored by the French and by campy Italian directors, he was in more than 90 movies and appeared in 20-odd films on French television. Could have made it in art films thanks to his wonderful appearance as the tramp in Eric Rohmer's Les Signes du Lion, but was ignored by the other serious-minded directors. On the contrary, and oddly enough to be sure, the quality of the films he was in declined dramatically after 1966. Did no justice to his wonderful screen presence. He also acted in 10 theater plays. No matter the format, the public loved him, although few knew his name. In the mid-70s, being a bit disappointed with his career, he spent more and more time working on his farm near Dinan in Brittany, acting only occasionally. He died in St. Malo in a St. Malo hospital on June 29, 1998. Forgotten by the film profession, he was fondly remembered in TV reruns and on video and DVD. Some of his better-known films are Cartouche in 1962, Topkapi in 64, What's New Pussycat in 65 with Peter Sellers, and Jules Verne's Mysterious Island in 1973. His Euro-Western career began with an appearance in the 1956 comedy western Ferdinand Cowboy starring Ferdinand Reynaud and 1960's Dynamite Jack with Fernandel. He's probably best remembered for his Italian spaghetti westerns, such as Captain Apache in 1970 as Father Rodriguez, Badman's River in 71 as Tom Odie, and The Grand Duel in 72 as Big Horse / Anthony / Peacock, the coach driver seen in the opening scene. A bit of trivia, Hahn did some voice dubbing on the side and was the voice of Claude Brook in 1965's Viva Maria. Jess Hahn died in St. Malo, Ille-et-Vilaine, France, on June 29, 1998, at the age of 76. Again, I'll post a list of his films on both Facebook and YouTube when this episode's posted. Okay, let's move along to the film of the week in 6 Bullets to Hell. What I've decided to do on the film of the week is post some of the last of the genre, since we'll never get there unless I live to be 100. So what we'll what you'll see in the next few weeks are some of the end of the genre, even some of the ones that weren't part of the uh, 20 or 30 years, some of the most recent ones that still made over there, including Six Bullets to Hell. This was a 2013 USA Spanish film co-production directed by Tanner Beard and Russell Cummings. The story is by Chip Baker and Russell Cummings. The screenplay is by Chip Baker, Jose L. Villanueva, and Danny Garcia. Cinematography is by Oliver Meeks. It's in color. Music is by a number of composers that they put in certain tracks. By Lexi Beard, Aaron Silvestre, Mark Ford, Travis Kennedy, Joshua Birney, Cassie Shankman, Sammy Yaffa, and my friend Chris Casey. Running time is 85 minutes. The Spanish title is Seis Balas el Infierno. English titles are Thou Shalt Not Kill, One Step from Hell, and as we know it, Six Bullets to Hell. The main cast members are Billy Rogers, played by Chris Bell. That's really an alias for Crispian Belfrage. Grace Rogers, played by Magda Rodriguez. Bobby Durango is played by Tanner Beard. Frank Rodriguez is played by Aaron Silvestre. And Sheriff Morris is played by Russell Quinn Cummings. There's a number of Spanish actors that have pop up in the as co-starring actors and character actors. You'll see some of them mainly in stunt performances. Okay, the main story goes Bobby Durango, played by Tanner Beard and his gang, come upon an isolated homestead. They rape and murder Grace Rogers. Bobby displays this ruthlessness by hanging one of his own men when he pleads for the woman's life. The gang proceeds to rob the town bank, but in the meantime, Grace's husband, Billy, played by Crispian Belfrage, has discovered her body. Billy, it turns out, is a former gunfighter, and he digs out his old gun rig and with its callousness that goes with it. He'll also have a helping hand in tracking down the 5 killers. Sheriff Morris, played by Russell Quinn Cummings, has decided to assist his old friend. The gang splits up after the bank robbery, so Billy must go in search of the bandits one at a time. Overcoming the normal spaghetti western obstacles, a card game that ends in violent death and some second-rate opponents, including a London-accented Native American who injects a welcome dose of eccentricity. The chase eventually shifts to Mexico for the final showdown. This attempt to make a 1960-era spaghetti western was for the most part a success. The production company used several of the Almeria locations used by Sergio Leone and many other Italian and Spanish directors. Fort Bravo was previously known as Texas Hollywood, and several of the Ramblas can easily be recognized. The rotoscope-style credits, the evocative music, and familiarly arid scenery are complemented by characterizations, costumes, and close-ups culled from the Euro-Western style book, while Olivier Mercique's radiant landscape photography achieves a romance that more than compensates for the rudimentary plot. The story is typical of spaghetti westerns era screenplays where a family member is killed and a gunfighter's son, husband, brother, etc. goes on the vengeance trail to track down the guilty party and eliminate them for their aggression. There is no exception. The direction is adequate and the acting decent. But the weak point for me was the hero, Billy Rogers, played by Crispian Belfrage. Like the current state of film action heroes, for the most part, the heroes have no comparison to the heroes of the past. Instead of 6'2 to 6'5 heroes that we are used to in those era, we get a 5'8 skinny, average-looking guy. Sure, the audience can relate to these guys, but for the most part, we grew up watching men dominate the screen. The current crop can't cut the mustard, in my sense. Whether it be Emilio Estevez in A Dollar for the Dead or Kiefer Sutherland in Forsaken, they are dwarfed by the main villain. The music used was composed by several modern-day composers and is also one of the highlights. This is one of those sit back and enjoy the film for what it is as an homage to the genre and overlook the budget restraints, the tire tracks and the dusty trails and, and roads and some of the dialogue. The stunt work is excellent and they captured the feel. Film is available on USA DVD. Okay, as far as actor profiles, they'll probably be all new to you, but Billy Rogers was played by Chris Bell. As I said, that's an alias for Crispian Belfrage. He was born in London, England on October 20th, 1971. He's a producer, stuntman, film, TV, and voice actor. He's the grandson of actor Bruce Belfrance, born in 1900, died in 1974, and actress Joan Henley. She was born in '04 and died in '86. And the son of Julian Rochard Belfrage, who was born in 1934 and died in 1994. Crispian has appeared in 6 spaghetti westerns, beginning with an appearance as Sam Lynchet in Terence Hill's 2008 TV spaghetti westerns Doc West and Trigger Man. Besides 6 Bullets to Hell, he appeared in 2 other spaghetti westerns recently, Bullets for the Bad and The Bounty Killer, and performing stunts in The Price of Death as Harry Skinner, both in 2017. Bobby Durango is played by Tanner Beard. Neil Tanner Beard was born in Howard, Texas on September 16, 1984. He's a producer, director, assistant director, writer, composer, film editor, cameraman, stuntman, film, TV anchor. He founded Silver Sail Entertainment and Mammoth Film Festival in 2018, White Buffalo Golf Apparel. If you look at the IMDb, they constantly list multiple projects and westerns he has in the works, but for some reason, none ever seem to come to be made. This is his only spaghetti western to date. Excuse me. Frank Rodriguez is played by Aaron Stilestra. Aaron J. Stilestra was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan on June 4th, 1948. He's a producer, director, assistant director, writer, cinematographer, composer, film editor, stuntman, film and TV actor. He's married to Sally Horvath. Stilestra has appeared in 2 other recent spaghetti westerns, Bullets for the Bad as Sheriff Mosley, and did stunts as Dick Dixon in The Price of Death, both in 2017. Sheriff Morris is played by Russell Quinn Cummings. Russell Quinn Cummings was born in Hobbs, New Mexico on December 30th, 1984. He's a producer, director, assistant director, writer, stuntman, film, TV actor. He's appeared in 1 other spaghetti western as a deputy in 2017's The Price of Death. Okay, let's do a CD LP 45 of the week. Okay, this will be covering Un Dollar Bucato, or $1 silver dollar. It started out with a 45 RPM, being released by the composer Gianni Ferrio in 1965. It was released in Italy on Fonit, Fonit, number SPF 31174, had 2 tracks. One of them is the vocal by Fred Bongusto. Its value ranges anywhere from $13 to $90, depending on condition. Then an LP was released in 1984 from Italy. It's on the Phoenix label. PHCAM02 has 11 tracks of music. Total listening time is 18 minutes and 3 seconds. And it only contains the vocal by Lydia McDonald. Its value is anywhere from $15 to $72. Then in 2013, a CD was released. It came out of Italy on Digit Movies, CDDM245. It contained 27 tracks of music with a listening time of 51 minutes, 54 seconds. It contains both vocals, and its value ranges anywhere from $13 to $21. And in 2019, an LP was released because vinyl came back. It came out from England on Silva Screen Records, number SILLP 1579, has 21 tracks of music. contains both vocals. Listening time was not given, like most LPs don't. It was a limited edition of 500 copies and has a value of $13 to $29. As far as the composer is concerned, Johnny Ferrio also composed under the aliases James Anderson, Lady Park. His real name is Giovanni Achille Ferrio. He was born on November 15th, 1924 in Vicenza, Veneto, Italy. He died on October 21st, 2013 in Rome. He was a composer, conductor, arranger, songwriter, and was married to actress Alba Arnova. Her real name is Alba Filomena Fossati. She was born in 1930 and died in 2018. They were married from 1956 until his passing in 2013. Ferrio conducted the scores for 26 spaghetti westerns, so he's one of the main composers, and 2 TV spaghetti western scores. We covered him in greater detail in episode number 108. As far as the 2 singers are concerned, Fred Bongusko sang A Man, a Story on the soundtrack. He was born Alfredo Antonio Carlo Bongusko on April 6, 1935 in Campobasso, Molise, Italy. He was a composer, conductor, singer, and actor. He was married to actress Gabriella Palazzoli. She was born in 1935 and died in 2015. They were married from 1971 until 2015 when she passed away. Bongusto is probably best remembered for his singing Maybe One, Maybe Nine, I Want to Kill a Man. That's the one, and I do a terrible singing voice. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 7, maybe 9, I Want to Kill a Man. It was released on the track For One After the Other, which starred Richard Harrison. Fred died in Rome on November 8, 2019 at the age of 94. He sang the main themes for 2 other spaghetti westerns. A bit of trivia here concerning his wife. In 1960, before their marriage, Palazzoli was previously married to American actor John Drew Barrymore, who was the father of daughter Blythe Dolores Barrymore. When they divorced in 1970, Blythe was then raised by Bongusto. John Drew Barrymore is the father of American actress Drew Barrymore, which some of you younger people will probably recognize. Lydia McDonald sings Give Me Back on the soundtrack. That's right, Give Me Back. She was born Lydia de Domenico on March 5th, 1923 in Edinburgh, Scotland. She became a songwriter and singer with British band leader Ted Heath. That was during the big band era, and his orchestra. Being bilingual, English and Italian, she moved to Italy and worked with such composers as Gianni Ferrio, Ennio Morricone, Armando Trovajoli, Piero Umiliani, and especially Piero Piccioni. After she retired, she moved back to Edinburgh, where she died on March 26, 1998, at the age of 75. This was her only spaghetti western. Okay, this is the CD, which I have. I also have the first LP that was released with that very generic cover. And let's move on to Autograph of the Week. I don't have a book of the week, so we'll just do Autograph of the Week. Sorry, I don't have a Fred Bongusko autograph. I do have an autograph for, who do you think this is? Robert Fuller. A little backstory on this. I got this autograph at Riverside Resort Hotel on 2002 of November of that year. They used to do a film festival there for a number of years before they had a rodeo, or they had a rodeo in Vegas that continues to this day, but they would hold the film festival in Laughlin a week or 2 before the rodeo. I was there along with my friend Don Bruce before I went to Spain on the first time in 2003. He wanted to talk to Robert Fuller and see if Robert knew where the locations for Return of the Seven were filmed. and Robert gave him some information, but wasn't too familiar because it's an out of the way place. Robert did tell him the story of how he met Yul Brynner, and it's a very interesting story, and I found it on YouTube this week. So go in there and listen to uh, Robert Fuller's YouTube story of how he met Yul Brynner on Return of the Magnificent Seven. Okay, next we have a couple of posters from Tom's Poster Attic. Okay, first one I want to show you is a German ad mat. These are pretty rare. I think this is one of the few German ad mats I have. There's advertisements for the German magazines, complete story, synopsis, and actors list. Next I have is the Italian window poster, sort of a generic drawing of Juliana Gemma. A lot of those were taken from American pulp magazines because it was too early for them to start drawing decent posters. And this is the Belgian poster. Again, very generic. Okay. Now let's wrap things up with the weekly news. I guess since this we haven't had an episode for 2 weeks, it'll be the bi-weekly news. Okay, first off, we have a new Italian book release of Tutti I film di Franco e Ciccio. Tony Williams is going to be jumping for joy for this one. It covers all the films by Franco and Ciccio by author Marco Giusti. His publisher is Bloodbuster. It's in Italian, has 304 pages, and was released on March 1st. I did order a copy from Amazon Italy, so I'll go over that a bit when I get my copy. Probably be another week or two. Then we have a new British PAL Region 2 Blu-ray combo release of The Big Gun Down, which came out in 1965, directed by Sergio Salima, and as we know, starring Lee Van Cleef, Tomas Milian, and Walter Barnes. This was released on February 13th by Powerhouse Films / Limewood Media. Contains 2 discs. It's a limited edition of 5,000 copies. They're numbered. Contains 3 versions of the film. The U.S. theatrical cut, which is 90 minutes. Also the extended 95-minute version. And with another one with scenes that were added for a TV broadcast, which is 110 minutes, which is in Italian with English audio. This thing has so many extras on it that I can't list them all. So please go to the Spaghetti Western database and look it up, and you can get all the information there. On February 19th, a 2-disc Blu-ray Standard Edition was released. Next, we have a new Spanish Blu-ray of Django, 1966, directed by Sergio Corbucci, starring Franco Nero, Eduardo Fajardo, and Laura Donanusiak and Jose Bodalo, was released on February 26th on Divisa / Mercury Films. It's Region 0. It's in Mono 2.0 Spanish and 5.1 Italian with English and Spanish language subtitles. Has a running time of 92 minutes. Extras include a gallery, filmographies, and posters. Okay, this next thing I want to talk about is just a notification. Back in late summer of 2023, Paramount reached out to Jay and myself and asked us if we would be interested in doing an audio commentary for one of their 2024 releases. It's Once Upon a Time in the West. This is to be released on May 14th on Ultra HD. We'll get into it the week it's released, but as you can see, it's an extended release. There's a lot of extras on it. You can order it or pre-order it right now from Amazon. So I'm not pushing you to order it, but it's available if you want to. And we'll talk about it more when it's actually released. Okay? Next is a bunch of people who have passed away in our Boot Hill section. First is George Rydell. He's a Czechoslovakian born Swedish composer. He died in Stockholm on February 25th at the age of 90. Rydell, a name synonymous with the enchanting background scores of Astrid Lindgren's cherished tales, leaves behind a legacy that has been an integral part of Scandinavian childhoods and beyond. His compositions entertained and shaped the musical landscape of children's literature in Sweden. He was born George Martin Ludwig Rydell on January 8, 1934, in Karlovy Vary, Czechoslovakia. Rydell's journey to musical prominence began upon his family's relocation to Stockholm. Here, a young Rydell transitioned from the violin to the double bass, uncovering a passion for jazz that would eventually intertwine with the world of children's stories. His induction into the Swedish Music Hall of Fame and the recognition with the Children's Award are testaments to his enduring impact on children's film and music. George composed the score to the 1964 Euro Western Wild Wild Story. Excuse me. Next we have Ira von Furstenberg. Princess Ira von Furstenberg died on February 19th in Rome, Italy. She was 83. She was born Virginia Carolina Theresa Pancrazia Galladina zu Furstenberg in Rome on April 17, 1940, and was Chiara Agnelli and Prince Tassilo von Furstenberg's eldest daughter. Ira was an undisputed protagonist of the worldliness of the last century. Her marriage in Venice to Prince Alfonso of Hohenlohe-Langenburg in 1955, when she was just 15 years old, was the first major post-war event. Ira, a relentless girl, after having given birth to two children, ran away with the Brazilian millionaire and playboy Baby Pignatari, from whom she separated a few years later. She spent part of her youth tackling the adventure of cinema and then dedicated herself to public relations in the fashion sector. Her only spaghetti western was as Hester MacDonald Morton in Deaf Smith and Johnny Ears in 1973. Then we have Micheline Presley. Legendary French actress Micheline Presley died on February 21st in Val-de-Marne, Paris, Ile-de-France, France. She was 101. Born Micheline Nicole Julia Emmeline Cachagny in Paris on August 22, 1922. Taking acting classes as a teen, she was discovered by George Wilhelm Pabst and cast in a film portraying Jacqueline Presley, whose last name she chose as her own marquee name. Very early into her film career, she was awarded the most promising young actress in French cinema. She was among the most successful French screen actresses in the 1940s. After a brief post-war marriage to Michel Lefort, Micheline's second marriage to American actor turned producer William Marshall in 1949 led to her attempt at Hollywood pictures. They divorced in 1954. Micheline never truly adjusted to the Hollywood way of life and returned quite willingly to Paris with her daughter, the future actress-director Toni Marshall. She would, however, return briefly to America in the early 1960s to appear in the Sandra Dee Bobby Darin comedy If a Man Answers in 1962 and the spy drama The Prize in 1963. Presley appeared in only one spaghetti western as Homme Amélie in 1971's The Legend of Frenchy King, starring Brigitte Bardot and Claudia Cardinale. Then we have Peli Pavis. Italian film, TV, and voice actress Peli Pavis died in Rome on February 22nd. She was 81. Pela came from a family of artists from Asti engaged in theater and cinema as actors and dubbers. Daughter of actor Nino Pavis and Jolanda Pegin, and granddaughter of Luigi Pavese, she entered the world of entertainment at the age of 12. She appeared on stage and in film and TV. As a voice actress, she lent her voice to numerous famous actresses, including Angelica Houston, whom she voiced in the first two films of the film versions of The Addams Family. She has been the voice of numerous cartoon and animated film characters, such as the voice of Jessica Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Fatima Blush in the movie Never Say Never. Pela was the voice of Valerie Kavila in 1983's modern Euro-Western Thunder starring Mark Gregory. Next we have Charles Dierkop. American actor Charles Dierkop died February 25th in Sherman Oaks, California, after a recent heart attack and bout with pneumonia. He was 87. After portraying an uncredited pool hall hood in the Paul Newman starring The Hustler in 1961, Dierkop got to work with Newman again in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969, when he was hired to play hole-in-the-wall gang member George Flatnose Curry. Dierkop had broken his nose in fights several times as a kid, so he was rather suited for the part. Charles Richard Dierkop was born on September 11, 1936 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Dierkop was married to Joan Addis from 58 until their divorce in 74. They had two children, Charles Jr., who died in 1990 at the age of 29, and Lynn. Dierkop appeared in only one Euro-Western as Cooper in 1989's Blood Red, starring Dennis Hopper and Giancarlo Giannini. Last but not least, we have a late report of Roberto Messina. He was an assistant director, stunt coordinator, stuntman, master of arms, film, TV voice actor who died in Venice, Florida on January 9th. He was 90. Roberto was the brother of stuntman and actor Emilio Messina, who was born in 1936 and he died in 2007. Roberto's grandson posted on Facebook of his passing. Sadly, I've seen no published obit. Along with his brother Emilio, alongside whom he often appeared, he first appeared in Peplums, then continued working steadily through the cycles of the Euro spy, spaghetti western, and police genres. On those occasions where he was credited, it was often under the pseudonym Bob or Robert Messenger. He also worked as an Italian dubbing artist for Italian films and later as a stunt coordinator. At the start of the 1980s, both brothers relocated to Venice, Florida, and throughout the next decade, continued to work as stuntmen and stunt coordinators, predominantly for Italian productions shot in Florida. Roberto appeared in 35 spaghetti westerns, from Bad Man of the West in '64 to White Fang and the Kid in 1977. Okay, that'll do it for the weekly news, or like I said, the bi-weekly news, and this will wrap up this episode. So until we see you on down the road, I'm Tom Betts, and this has been a Roberto Genesi production. Until then, adios amigos.